wonderful to meet you and see you guys face to face. And here comes Cooper.
Hi.
Oh, cat butt just for you. Come here.
Yep.
Hey, what is everybody drinking right now? I have a bottle full of water.
I've got coffee and water.
Coffee and water.
Coffee and water. Okay, good. So we are 4 complete strangers. We've never met each other. This is literally the first time we've talked face to face with one another. And we are doing an experiment that was done by Arthur Aaron, asking 36 questions, and we're only doing 18 today. Well, not today, but we're doing 3 questions, but we're doing 18 questions overall. So we're going to each respond to these next 3 questions, questions 4, 5, and 6. So there are 4, 5, and 6. It's not necessarily questions 4, 5, and 6 in the series. I'm Allison, Allie the Unicorn on YouTube. Right below me here is Lindsay from Love Me a Latte. To my left over here is Maria Filar. She is an amazing artist and also makes all the merch for Frank James. And then down here below is Tania, and she is 10,000 days of gratitude. This is why I made
Don't sell me short. Don't sell me short on that.
Let's go ahead and get into the first question here. If you were able to live to the age of 90 and retain either the mind or the body of a 30-year-old for the last 60 years of your life, which would you want and why? So this is weird because I would like to retain the body of a 30-year-old, and I'll tell you why. I don't want to be 90 years old and have this old decrepit body and yet intellectually still be 30. I feel like that would drive me crazy because I wouldn't be able to do the things that a 30-year-old could do. You know, what if I lose my ability to walk, or what if I lose some physical ability that a 30-year-old is used to doing? So I think I would rather have the body of a 30-year-old. And it doesn't say that you're going to go senile. It just, specifies age. So I might not be completely out of it, but if I was, I would look like a 30-year-old who's just completely lost their mind. So that's fine. But that's my answer.
I was thinking about it, and I agree with you. And I was, for some reason, Sabrina the Teenage Witch popped into my head, and how Aunt Hilda and Zelda are like these old witches, but they're like young and hip. Mm-hmm. And they have all the knowledge of age, but they're still together like physically. And I think it would be really weird, like you said, to be trapped in a physical body that isn't serving your mind. So yeah, I want to be a vampire witch, basically.
Okay. We'll get on that.
I'm another one in Allison and Maria's camp. So I would choose to have the body of a 30-year-old because I know a 90-year-old and in my family, and his mind has only really started to go in the last 5 years. He's still very active, but he doesn't have a 30-year-old body. But when I was 30, my mind was so anxious. It was that time in my life when I was, the biological clock was ticking. I was wondering, am I keeping up with everybody else career-wise? And, my mind was really on a lot of material things. And so I wouldn't want to go back there. I'm past 30 now, so I would not want to go back there. So I would rather keep the body of a 30-year-old and have all of the wisdom that comes with being 90 and have the perspective to look back on my life.
Yeah, definitely.
Really good point.
So I'm going to jump into your guys' camp. I think the exact same thing. I definitely would want the body of the 30-year-old, not the mind. Part of the reason, there's a couple of reasons for that. The first one is because I work at a hospital, and so a lot of my patients are older patients, and the knowledge that they have is just so vast. Like, I just find them so fascinating, and all like the things that they've lived through and the things that they've learned over the years. And another point would be I'm somebody that's really active outdoors. Like I like to go kayaking, hiking. I'm also like a long distance runner as well. So being able to have the body of a 30-year-old would be awesome to be able to keep up with those hobbies, because I feel like if, you know, my body and mind caught up with each other, I wouldn't be able to, you know, I probably could still be like active, but you know, who knows though? You just don't know in the future, like how your body's going to change and whatnot. But, you know, I'm coming up 30 here soon, and kind of like what you were saying too, Tanya, about how you were, you know, at 30, your mind was going, you're anxious. Like, I feel like I'm kind of like that right now. And I feel like as you get older, you just, you know, your mind just expands and you get better. I don't know, like I know a lot of older people that I know, for example, they kind of stop caring, for example, like what people think of them. Like over time, they just, you know, slowly stop caring what people think of them, for example, and they just like don't care as much about stuff. So I feel like, I don't know, I'm looking forward to that, honestly. So yeah.
It's a slow roll. I mean, I'm not quite there yet, but it's definitely a slow roll upwards from
Yeah, exactly. So for that reason, I'll take the body of the 30-year-old for sure.
I'm interested to hear somebody's response who chose like the other.
Yeah, who chose to have the mind of a 30-year-old rather than the body. That will be interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so question number 5. If you could change anything about the way you were raised, what would it be? I'm gonna just zoom in on Maria's face.
It's tough because I'm happy with how I turned out, so I don't know necessarily if I would change anything. I did grow up with a very overprotective mother. She has anxiety too, so I learned a lot of these behaviors from her. So it would have been nice to have been raised by more outgoing, open-minded parents, but at the same time, I'm happy with how I turned out. So
see, I also grew up kind of sheltered, but I am very grateful for my childhood. My mother and I have a very close relationship. I grew up in a very happy, loving home. Something I might change though about what I did personally, because I don't want to blame my parents. I feel like there's a certain part where yes, what they do affects you as a child, but I feel like once you become to adulthood, you get to decide whether or not that is going to affect how you act as an adult. So I don't want to say, well, I wish my mom would have done this, because my mom raised me the best way that she knew how, and I love my mom.
Right. And you don't know how that would have actually changed anything either.
Yeah. So what I wish I didn't have done is just spend copious amounts of time on the computer. Like I would just spend hours and hours. I could spend like an entire day on the computer, like just on YouTube or watching anime. I grew anime. What? I grew up watching anime. So I would just like binge series, and it wasn't healthy. Like I mentioned in my last video, I'm a Christian. And so for me, a relationship with God is what being a Christian is about, having that personal relationship with God. And that means spending time with him, and I wouldn't be doing that. I would just be on the computer for hours and hours and hours. And I would feel these little nudges sometimes, like, hey, come spend some time with me. Come spend some time with me. And sometimes I would go and do it. Sometimes a lot of times I wouldn't, but just not spending as much time on technology as I did when I was a kid, you know.
Mine's it's a little more vulnerable. It's a little more deep. I think I agree. Like my parents did the best that they could to raise me. I think they did a great job. You know, I think they're great parents. There's just one thing that I kind of wish that they would have focused on more when I was growing up, more so when I was in high school, is I started to get a lot of anxiety in high school. And there was a couple years, kind of in my later years of high school, like grade 11, 12, where I actually had some panic attacks at school. And I did start to have a little bit of depression as well. And I remember trying to open up to my mom about it, and she just kind of being like, oh, like, it's going to be fine. Don't worry. This is just teenage hormones. Like, it's all right. And, you know, here I am, my mid-20s, still dealing with anxiety and depression to this day. I wish that they would have taken that a little more seriously. I wish that they could have maybe gave me some help when I was in high school, because it wasn't until I went to my first year of university that I just went to one of the counselors at the school there. And like opened up to her and she was able to kind of diagnose me and whatnot. But I kind of had to like put in the work myself and whatnot. And I felt like it kind of held me back because when I did my first degree program, I didn't do very well in school because of what was going on in my life. And I failed a couple of my classes, which I never did in high school. I went from being like straight A student to getting like D's and F's and stuff. And I just wish if they would have done something to maybe help and just listen more to what I had to say and take it seriously, like I would have been a little bit better off. But I know they did the best that they could. They just didn't really understand mental health. Like they didn't have to deal with it themselves. So yeah, like that's really the only thing that I would say that I wish that would have been different.
The thing, the one thing I would say is that I completely relate to what Lindsay said. It wasn't what I was thinking to say, but I would just like to say, I completely relate to that because I had a lot of anxiety and stomach aches and, chronically like freaked out about school and all sorts of things when I was growing up. And it didn't really get addressed until I went to university. So hopefully you're working that through all. I know that I got through it. So what the source of all that anxiety perhaps was, though, is what I would have changed. And that is that as a child from about the age of 5 until 12, we moved house at least once a year. And sometimes it was twice a year.
Wow.
And so every time we moved house, I had to change schools. So for that period of childhood, which was basically childhood, I was never in the same school twice. And so that caused me a lot of issues of relationship formation and attachment that, basically I would always sit back and wait and see who are the cool kids, and I wasn't going to be friends with them because they might be mean, but who would I be friends with? So I, even though I was outgoing, I tended to sit back a little bit every time I changed schools because it was really important to fit in. And the other thing was that oftentimes my parents didn't live together during this time, so I didn't have both parents in the home. And the fact that we were moving, unpacking, packing, moving, unpacking, packing, moving constantly. Even to this day, I still, I think I moved into this apartment 4 years ago and some of my stuff isn't unpacked. But what was really influential to me was that because my parents were tied up with this, and my mother didn't work, she was a house mother. She didn't work outside the home once we were born. So she was tied up with moving all the time, and kind of the kids got lost in that. So that's the only thing I would change. Well, one of the only things I would. No, okay, it's one of the things I would change.
If you think too much about it, you could be talking for a while.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to question 6. It's the less serious question. We are now coming up out of the holes we have dug. We're like, we're getting deep. And now it's like, okay, we're coming out. All right. So if you could wake up tomorrow having gained one quality or ability, what would it be?
I wish I could sing, man. I cannot sing. That's what I would want.
What kind of music would you sing? Trap?
I don't know. My mom used to play guitar and sing, which I didn't even really know. But like, if I could I guess I would want to learn how to play guitar and sing, because I just think I love like folk music and songwriting, and I just it would be great to have a nice singing voice, but that's an artistic talent I don't have.
Well, it's one that takes practice.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of practice. Same with anything. So
first of all, you should sing anyways.
Oh, I do.
Okay,
I do. To my cats.
That'll be our next video. It'll be a quartet.
No.
Oh no, I don't think we'll have any viewers.
they might view Allie, right? She's got a good voice. The rest of us.
So obviously, if I could choose anything, the obvious answer right now would be to cure the virus that has us all stuck at home. But that's not what I was going to answer, because outside of this time period, the one thing I would want to change and to have the ability I trained as an economist, and economists have not had this ability so far, but it would be to end the gross inequality that we see in the world right now, between billionaires who hold, most of the world's riches, and the rest of us who hold the 1% or 2% of the world's riches. And the reason I would do that is because, research has shown that worldwide happiness is not so much based on your level of poverty and income as much as it is on inequality. And the more inequality we have, the more unhappy as nations we are. So the happiest nations are the ones with the least spread in wealth. So that's what I would want to have the ability to do.
For me, it would be to be more motivated to get things started. So I'm such a procrastinator. I'm really bad for that. I do things at the last minute, always have throughout my whole life. And the thing is, once I get started, I'm usually fine. I can usually, work my way through a project or whatever. But I find that I have a hard time getting started with things, and I'm just not motivated a lot of the time to start things. So for me, if I was able to just wake up and be able to just get stuff done this and that, that would just be amazing. I feel like my life would be a lot easier. It would be better all around. And I feel too, it could benefit other people too, if I'm able to get certain things done, well in advance in terms of timing, that would benefit other people as well.
I'm going to tell you what I originally had written, but I want to change this because I'm looking at this again going, I don't want that. So for some reason, what I had written the other day is the ability to genuinely, never mind. I do want this ability. I misread it. Okay. So it's the ability to genuinely not care whether or not people like me or I've pleased them. It's not being a jerk toward them, but if someone doesn't like me, just genuinely, it won't bother me, just not have it bother me, or not be, have this desire to please people as much.
That's something you can work on, though.
It is something you can work on. Yeah, that is something. So is singing.
I mean, to a point.
Yeah, you can't really change your natural voice, but you can get better at using it.
Yeah,
exactly.
And just find the music that's good for you. I feel like there's some songs I can kind of sing. Usually if it's made by a male, I can't do female vocals, but male.
You could be our lady tenor in our quartet.
Okay, sounds good.
Hey guys, as I was recording the ending, as I was editing the ending there, I realized I just totally botched it and never properly closed this out. So here we go. Lindsay, Tania, Maria, and I all answered a bonus question right after this particular session. Now that bonus question is going to be posted this Thursday on Tania's channel, 10,000 Days of Gratitude, so make sure you tune in. Now, we're interested to hear how you would answer these questions, so go ahead, leave your answers in the comment box, like and subscribe to see more of these videos, and make sure that you subscribe to 10,000 Days of Gratitude, Love Me a Latte, and Maria Filar. You are all so incredibly important, and have a wonderful day.